Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday to you. And if you're on the other side of the planet, excuse me, happy Sunday to you. And welcome. Welcome to the podcast live stream. And we're ready to go. And we already have 3 people here. So let's get started. Let's see who's here. I don't even know who's here yet. All right, so it looks like we've got Bob, Merlin, and Stephen and Evan. So let's admit Bob. He was here first. And I believe that I finally figured it out on how to, who's in line when. And if you can see, I've kind of been playing around with this today, and I can only test stuff while it's live. And so I put this JeffMara podcast there, and let's see. Yeah, I can only adjust that when we're not live. Now we're in this mode. I think it'll look okay. We'll see. Bob, can you hear me?
I can.
All right, great. Well,
How exciting!
Thank you for joining me. And where are you from?
I live in the Washington D.C. area.
Nice.
Just on the Virginia side of the river in Arlington.
Right.
So,
what kind of paranormal or supernatural experiences have you had?
Well, I don't think I've had any of major consequences. I mean, there's a few times in my life I think that there's been some intervention.
Yes.
But, it wasn't anything that, well, yeah, there was a time there, I probably could have killed myself. I was about 10 years old. And the neighbor got this golf cart and, said, okay, the right is the gas, the left is the brake and everything. And said, be careful. And my dad and everybody's, and I just gunned it. And I thought, oh, here comes a telephone pole. I better try to stop it. And I stepped on the brake, nothing happened. I thought maybe I'm stepping on the wrong one.
Wow.
And then I stepped on the, the gas again and it sped up and I'm like, holy crap. And all of a sudden it just stopped about 10 feet from the telephone pole. So
did you
was
see
that me? Was that somebody watching?
Yeah.
Backing me up? I don't know.
And you didn't have any conversation or see anything, right?
No, not at all.
You're a popular guy this evening.
But anyway, I've been listening to your podcast for a couple years.
Wow, thank you.
And I found this one with Karen Swain.
Yes.
Just recently, and I think you talked about the streaming versions of that you do, and I thought, oh my God, that's my prayers have been answered.
Oh well, yeah. I've been on Karen's channel as a guest. I don't know if you saw that one, or was it when she was on my channel as a guest?
Both.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't see the YouTube one because I normally listen to you, especially during the pandemic or along the Potomac River. There's the Mount Vernon Trail, and I'd go out walking daily on that, and that's when I listened to the podcast.
Cool.
So
yeah, that's great. It's great to know. Obviously, since I'm on YouTube, I only appear to interact with YouTube viewers, but it's nice to see somebody actually listening to the podcast, like whether it's on Spotify or iTunes or whatever.
Yeah, I've got a couple listeners. I mean, that are a little bit, they need their hand holding to navigate through getting a podcast. So I will forward the ones I especially like to them, and they listen to them as well.
So what is your favorite one?
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I can narrow it down to a favorite. I'll tell you, I really did. I enjoyed the podcast you had with Simon Bound. over in England.
Simeon? Wait, who?
Isn't it Simon G. Bound? But
Probably. I don't. I first I thought because I recently just posted one with a woman with another one with a man named Simeon, but no, Simon was probably must have been an older one,
um,
but he wasn't British either.
well, this guy's British, and I don't know if he was on your podcast
I
or
excuse me. I think I remember him now. Simon Brown.
yeah.
I don't remember what he does.
I think they call his name. The name of his podcast is the Paranormal Podcast, but I'm trying to check it here as we speak. Um,
I don't. He is another podcaster.
he is.
Okay. Yeah. It seems vague. I mean, I hope I don't.
Oh, okay. Past Lives Podcast, Simon Bound, Bown.
Bound. Yes. Okay. Let me just see if I can see him just for a second so I can see who I'm talking about. Yeah, I remember him now. Yes. Very nice guy. That
So,
probably sounds terrible but I hope that everybody can understand that I'm up to what, 590 something. It's hard for me to remember all the guests.
I know I was, my husband lives in San Antonio. He's assigned
Oh,
there
oh wow.
for
In San
Sam
Antonio.
Houston.
Hmm.
And so when I go down and see him, I thought, well, let me keep my eyes out. Maybe I'll see you walking around somewhere.
Yeah, then there's been, I've had a couple guests here from San Antonio. One of them was on Angels, gosh, Michael something, and there's another one from San Antonio. Population wise, is not one of the biggest. It's like I don't know, a million and a half. But Texas is so big, so everything grows out big.
Right.
So that land wise, we're really huge. So someone on the south side of town can be like an hour's drive from me.
Oh, I know. I went through basic training there when I was in the Air Force, and then I went back for
Oh, cool.
officers training school.
Awesome.
And I was down there for, what was the last holiday we had? Labor Day.
Hmm.
And we were out at Lackland and everything. So much changing
Yeah.
going on there.
Hmm. So, have you had any other paranormal experiences? Have you ever seen any ghosts on base or something?
No, I wish I had. I live about 3 blocks from Arlington National Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while there, for about a year, I was doing, are you familiar with, what's it called? Findagrave.com.
I am not familiar with that, but I
It's
I could understand why you say that. If you go to a military cemetery, my father has buried one, and obviously all the tombstones are identical, and it's not
well,
easy to find a tombstone.
it is at Arlington.
Mhm.
They've got them all mapped out and numbered, and on a GPS. It's on a website. There's about 400,000 burials there, and anyway, people on Find a Grave are looking for photographs of the gravestone, the marker or monument, whatever they have. And if you go on there, I mean, you can go on there and find people that are famous, people that just regular citizens. And I mean, it's just, Arlington is a fascinating place to visit, just for what it is, and the history of it and everything. But I'm thinking, with 400,000 burials there, what are, chances are good, but during the times I was there, I've never experienced anything.
Is this website limited to military cemeteries, or is it cemeteries all over the globe?
Everything.
That's amazing. So you want to look up John Wayne's gravesite, and it'll tell you where it's at.
And there'll be a photograph of it typically. But there's people in my high school class that have passed away, and I can go check to see if, somebody has added their photograph and information to the website. It's, I think Ancestry has now owns findagrave.com, and a lot of people use it in their genealogy search. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, and it's actually fun to contribute photographs. There's a page where people are requesting a photograph, And so I will check the Arlington page, and I'll do, if I go over there, I'll kind of limit it to one section, because I mean, Arlington is huge,
Yeah.
and you can walk from one end to the other. And at my age, you're kind of worn out by the time. And in the process, I'm over there on a normal weekday, and it's quite normal to see a bear. They do about 13 to 15 burials a day. And it's really impressive to see just a normal, military member they get the case on, and the horses and the band and everything. And so 21 gun salute if you're a general officer. One time I saw the B-2 fly over, and there aren't any B-2 bombers located anywhere near here. So it flew over just for the burial. So
have you seen any famous generals tombstones there?
Oh, absolutely. The most recent one is Colin Powell.
Wow.
And what's interesting is he's buried, section 60 is the active section right now. And but a four-star general, he's the first African American that was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and he passed away several months ago. And I was over there with a friend. They were having a special event commemorating Tomb of the Unknowns, where you could actually go up and set a flower on by the tombs. Normally, you don't ever get near it. And so we walked around, and we walked over to section 60, and there was a USO van there handing out some literature. And I said, do you know where General Powell's grave is? And she goes, oh yeah, it's right over there. And she goes, you know what? I'll walk you over there and show you, because they didn't have the permanent marker on there. They just had a little, temporary marker. And yeah, he's there. There's people there that are noteworthy that I would not have known about. And I took a little walking tour. And you know who Medgar Evers was?
No.
Have you heard? Okay, Medgar Evers was a civil rights leader, lived in Jackson, Mississippi, and he was murdered in his driveway. And he's buried there. And he, this is back in the early mid 60s or whatever. And I had walked past that marker a number of times and never even stopped to look at it. But there was something strange about it, because it was the only one in that row. And then when I took the tour, the guy said Medgar Evers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I did not realize he was buried here. And then what was even stranger is, why is he the only one in that row? And I've never been able to get an answer for that. There's room for another 30 more burials there. There's they just recently buried Ruth Bader Ginsburg when she passed away, and her husband had already predeceased her, so he was already there. And they've got a little special section for Supreme Court justices. And they've revised the burial. They're running out of room. And so it used to be anybody that died on active duty, presidents. There's 2 presidents buried there, but most people know that JFK is there, but it wasn't only 5 or 10 years ago I learned that I think Taft is also buried there.
I didn't know that.
So anyway, a lot of history over there.
Well, just bringing that that website is amazing, and I'm glad that you brought it for us today.
Yeah, check it out. I think if you're trying to find out where somebody is buried, it's probably there. That's especially cool. If they're well known, and if they aren't well known. I think Fort Sam Houston has a cemetery, and probably just about everybody except the very new burials is listed there, because there's people that are going nuts over, that contribute, and they'll go into a cemetery and photograph everything and
Wow.
post it.
Wow.
And it makes some people quite angry
I
that they
bet.
do it.
I bet.
So,
Well, Bob, thank you so much for coming and joining us. And thank you again for watching and sharing our content. I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry I'm going to have to run. I've got 4 other people waiting.
okay. Well, anyway, I thought I'd check it out because I just learned about the live streaming. I thought, well, let me give it a shot. So
yeah, it's great. I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I'll be listening to you on a daily basis still.
Oh, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Add dead. If you want to join, what you do is you go to zoom.com and you click join meeting or join a meeting. I'm not sure what's there. And if you look in the description below the video, it says if you want to join me, it gives you the room ID and the passcode because it'll ask you for those 2 things. So you just enter those in and make sure you enter them exactly because it's case sensitive. And then you'll just get in line. And then here you, here you will be. And I just want to say, before I get to the next person, to Amber Leisure, thank you very much for that. I for the super thanks. I really appreciate it. And to Bella Simmons, thank you for that. Super thanks. I really appreciate that as well. And so let's get to Steve and Evan. They're here. As you guys know, I'm always drinking non-alcoholic beer, and today's beer is O'Doul's. Just wanting to let you know that I'm not getting drunk while we're here. Or I guess regulars know that I drink non-alcoholic beer anyways, but for you new people, I quit drinking alcohol pretty much a while ago, and I drink these because I still like the flavor of beer. All right, so let's see what Steve and Ed. Hello, guys.
Hi.
Hello, guys. So this is Steve and Evan from Australia, and they are with alienancestry.com. Am I saying that right?
Yes, you are.
Yes, I am. I finally remembered it. They have a program, an online symposium, or whatever you'd like to call it, once a month. And they're here to share with us what's coming up. Is it next week, right?
Yeah. It's only about a week away. Yeah.
And so what is it? I think something about talking to aliens this week or something. What's going on?
No, we decided to give that a rest for a sec. We're doing we were involved in a ceremony that took place at Uluru nearly 3 years ago. When it comes to a close, the 3rd ceremony ends on December. And what we're doing over the next 3 months, as we get closer to that seminal date, is we're trying to expand upon the Hopi prophecy that tells us when the change comes, we have to embrace the old teachings. So enough of the aliens for the time being. What we want to do is look at what those old teachings are.
Now, these are of the Hopi Indians of North America. We're not because usually you guys talk a lot about Aboriginal elders, but you're going overseas to America this time.
Well, we are, but I've got to be honest. I mean, the Adamathi, the original people here, the keepers of the old way, say that the change, it will end here, it will begin, it will start here, it will end here, and begin again here. And that's quite good, but it's not as flowery and it's not as prosaic as what the Hopis say. And the Hopis are the keepers of prophecies, and the prophecies relate to the world. And what our people are saying, the original people are saying, what the Hopi are saying are identical. It's just that they use a lot more metaphors and it's much easier to read.
It's definitely worth looking into them because they've got an eloquent way of saying it.
Yeah.
As opposed to just
let me ask you this. Can you give us a little bit of any of their prophecies that should be coming true soon? What should we be looking out for?
Well, that's the point. They say that it's coming. The hours come is one of their prophecies, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
It's happening now, and people should prepare themselves. And what they say time after time is the preparation is to learn the old teachings. So that's what we're doing over the next 3 months. Granted, we're mainly looking at the teachings as they relate to Australia. And what we're doing this time around, we've got Auntie Trudy Roberts, who is a local original elder, who is the keeper of the languages. She's the guardian of all the different languages around here. In fact, she gets paid for that, doesn't she?
She does, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
job.
Nice.
So we're going to ask her to talk about women's business, women's old way business, because there's two ways of doing this story. There's the women's way and there's the men's way. A lot in common, but some things are different. And she's been on a journey. She's sat inside the rocks and she's now really ascending. And we're going to ask her to talk about women's business, what this old way teaching means to women.
Can you give us some? Can you give us some examples of what you're talking about of this? I know you're not a woman, but maybe you might have some insight into what is this women's business.
Well, I can do the men's side. I'll give you an example of one part of that because we'll be dealing with that. And one of the things we're going to talk about is something that may not seem very spiritual, but actually is, and it's warfare. And I wanted to talk about that because what we're going to do is we've got this fascinating book from a white fella who was given black fella initiation, and he gave us different instances of different events and the way culture worked. And there's one that comes to mind immediately that I'd like to talk about in the time we've got, which is warfare. And he spoke about a time when another tribe was coming towards this tribe and they were going to do war. And the tribe that was involved in this said, oh, look,
don't really feel like it today.
Don't want to fight today. So they sent the women out. And they had their digging sticks and their nullas, and they were going to fight the men. And this is where it gets interesting. When the men saw the women coming towards them, they ran away. And this is the point I want to talk about. They ran away because in original society, it is against the law to yell at or hit a woman. And if you do, the men will bash you to within an inch of your life or maybe even kill you.
Yeah.
So what happened was the men were running from the women. And the women were waving their sticks, yelling at them, and they couldn't catch them because we outran them. And they ran away, and that was the end of the war. Now, I'm going to go one step further, and I'm going to talk about this on the day. Then I'm going to talk about a war that actually did take place where we live near Lismore, near Byron Bay. And it was taking place, I think, about 1850. And at that stage, there were about 800 white fellas in Lismore. And there are around 6,000 fully armored men walking around Lismore. And we do know, with the exception of 2 people, for the next 3 days, nobody went outside.
They
locked themselves in. And they went to a place called the Lismore Showground, about 13 tribes, and they engaged in a 3-day war. And there were 2 people there that fought in the Napoleonic Wars, and they watched the whole thing and recorded it. And they said the fighting was really spirited and vigorous and violent. But after 3 days of fighting, not one male died. Now, this is what I want to talk about. And I wanted to talk about how this came about. And they told us they were throwing spears at one another. They put the shields up and deflected. And sometimes the men were hit in the leg because they didn't cover their leg. And the women would tend to the bandaging, and they'd stand up and throw the spears again. And halfway through, they had a meeting because one side was winning. They were pushing forward too far. So they stopped the whole war, and some of the tribes swapped sides. Now, we wouldn't do this in our warfare, would we? We'd just keep with our side. No, because they wanted a balance. And then after 3 days of doing this, everyone decided it's done. And then what happened was all of the original men, they shook hands, they walked away, and for the next 10, 15 years, there was no conflict. And what warfare did, there was no point in killing someone. It was releasing the frustration and the arguments and the grudges and getting it out of your system. Yeah. It was very much like a football match. In Australia, we have something called rugby league where people just smash into each other. But the most violent football match I ever saw was between the Maori original tribe and the Kempsey original tribe. And they had a referee with a whistle, but he might as well just sat on the sideline because there were no rules. Everyone just bashed each other. And at the end of the game, they shook hands and they were all friends. And so what we're going to talk about is, I know warfare sounds a weird part to be raised, but there's an underlying premise that yes, men do get angry, but there must be a way of alleviating that without destroying someone else's tribal land, without invading another country, without raping the women and killing the children. And in this occasion, what we're finding here is the warfare in Australia, yeah, the men fought, but they never went on someone else's land. They never stole their land. They never stole their history. They never touched the women. They never touched the children. They fought on neutral ground. And when it was over, they went back to their tribal estate and no one invaded another person's place. And what it gives you in that is it gives you a snapshot. Because yes, men fighting each other is something inherent, but can we find a way of doing this where the collateral damage is virtually nothing? And if you look at the way we've fought wars over the last 6,000 years, I'm going to suggest to you our way of doing this hasn't been as honourable, it hasn't been as honest, and it's been vicious. Now, the word vicious, spirited, powerful, yes, but never vicious, never vicious. Even to the stage, if two men within a clan could not resolve their differences and had to fight each other, did you know they had to go and find a woman to act as referee? And she would say at one stage, stop, that's enough. If you go any further, you may harm that person. And if that man didn't, all the other men in the tribe are obliged to bash him to within an inch of his life to teach him a lesson that you didn't listen to the referee who was a woman. Now, when you start to look at these small isolated incidents, which we're going to give, and they're mainly anecdotal, but it gives you a bit of a story and an understanding of what old way is. Because let's be honest, the American Indians, they fought each other too, but there was honor there also. And I'm saying that what we find when we look at the old teaching is there is honor, there's dignity, and there's an understanding that killing or harming another person or stealing their land or harming the women or the children is not honorable. It's dishonorable and it's not part of the old way. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the men's side of the story. It won't all be about banging into each other. I've got to make that point. It's just one incident there, an example of it. And Trudy will be talking about the women and how they work and their skills. And the one thing I can tell you is in the old way of doing things and the way when the change comes, in nearly every tribal group within Australia until about 6,000 years, it was run on purely matrilineal lines. The men were not the boss. They would go and hunt, yes, and they had their spears to get the food, but most days they didn't catch the kangaroo. They were relying on the women to gather the food that they could eat that night. And what that created within that tribe was an equality of gender that we're now starting to get towards, and it gets imbalanced both ways, but in the old way, men and women were equal. And that's the sort of things we're going to be talking about in our next conference. It's about how we should behave,
Right.
not how we do behave, because how we do behave is not honorable anymore.
Now, before I've got to run, but before I go, besides the website alienancestry.com, where this is going to happen, don't you guys have your own website if people want to learn more about what you are up to?
Yeah, so the conferences are on alienancestry.net.
Oh, .net, okay.
But if you want to read our articles, and we've just put a new one up 2 days ago.
They're all free.
They're all free. They're on forgottenorigin.com.
There we
go. Yeah, they're all there. They're all in categories, so you can pick and choose what you're into. So definitely check out both.
and help yourself.
Yeah,
And-
go nuts.
And you guys also have a Facebook page, Forgotten Origin, don't you?
Yeah, definitely have that. There's about 17,000 people in that group at the moment.
Wow,
So yeah,
17,000. That's amazing. Congratulations.
that's where all the news articles go, and I'm always going through and putting up new stuff, keeping people updated and informed.
Yep.
Well,
So there's a few things there.
well, guys, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for
I'm
asking.
happy to see you every time, and I hope I see you guys back next month.
Oh, definitely.
And before I go, I'm just going to do a little self-promotion real quick, and that is I had a great discussion with somebody I posted this week, Dr. Simeon Brown, on Bigfoot, which for you would be Yowie being multi-dimensional beings. So if you get a chance, check it out. Oh. All right, I'll see you guys later. Cheers. I don't know if I accidentally clicked mute on them or not. If I did, I apologize, guys. I don't think I did, though. All right, so the next person is OPPOCPH2211. And we'll see who that is. And let me help this person. Ask to start video. So while we're waiting on OPPO, if you, well, there we go. Almost there. Just so she knows, waiting for audio to sync. Oh, are you there?
Is that it?
That's it.
There we go.
Welcome.
Hello.
All right. Did you message me earlier?
I did, yeah.
You did. So you are from the UK.
I am, yeah.
And we were going to hear about your NDE. And I'm so sorry, I forgot your name. What is your name again?
Sam.
Sam?
Yeah.
And what part of the UK are you in?
Buckinghamshire. It's near London, nearish.
All right, nearish. All right, works for me. My knowledge of England is not that great, so nearish London works for me.
Okay. Yeah, nice and easy.
So what happened?
Well, this was in 2020. I have an anxiety disorder, and on this particular night, I was sat on the sofa, and I went into a panic attack. I mean, I've had several before. I had loads before. It was a regular thing, but this one was really, really different. The minute it came on, my heart was beating out of my chest, and I don't know if you know anything about panic attacks, but when you feel like you're going to have one, you literally feel like you're going to die, like literally. For instance, one panic attack I had, my heartbeat got up to 180 and I was 10 away. I was at work and the nurse in charge was going to ring an ambulance because it got so high. So it was bad. I thought I was going. And during this, it was like the walls started spinning past me. And I ended up being in this place. By now, my husband was in the same room as me. So he came and sat next to me because he knows how to bring me down and get me back from a panic attack. But this was different. I ended the panic attack, but instead of seeing my living room, I could see another place. And it was a black void. And in this black void, there were these amber lights. And they were circles, and they were all joined together with a silver line. I could only see some, and I could see them go out into the distance. So it's hard to explain, but I was looking at this place while looking at my living room. I could see my husband, but I could also see this place as well, which sounds so bizarre, but that's what was happening. And yeah, so I knew these little glowing lights attached to each other with this silver string. I knew they went on indefinitely. I couldn't see it, but I knew. And while I was sat there, like by then all the panic had gone, and I was more like looking in absolute awe at this place, and I was just like, wow. And I started getting a download, and I was getting information, but I cannot remember the information I was getting. But the information I was getting was so obvious because I was sat there going, oh, like I'd been overthinking a really difficult sum. And then all of a sudden the answers come to me, and I was like, was I really overthinking it that much? Oh my gosh. But no, that information still hasn't come to me, whatever it was. I don't know what it was, but I got that download. I then said to my husband, I was waving my hand like this, going, none of this matters. None of this, like pointing to our belongings, saying none of it matters. I was also, while looking into this space, I said, I know this place. This is where I was before I was born. And I knew, like, this information was coming. I don't know how I knew it, but I knew it. In this place, there was no opposites. There was no need for opposites because everything was perfect and like exactly the way it should be. I was, for a split second while I was sat there, I started going into another panic. And even last time I told somebody about my experience, it never occurred to me. But during this panic, I was holding my husband's hand and I started going, I'm going to forget this place. I'm going to forget this place. And I really went into another panic. And my husband was going, no, you're not going to forget it. It's fine. Like trying to calm me down. And it didn't occur to me till not long ago, it's Maya. Like I was frightened the veil was going to come over me again and I was going to forget where all this information and this being. And all of a sudden, like it was as quick as this, I got a thought that I don't want to literally didn't get to leave, and I was pop straight back into my head. Like I felt a pop and I was back in the living room. And that was it. Luckily, my husband was with me because I'm very logical minded. So I came out of it. I was like, right, I need to go book an MRI scan. But he'd had a previous experience years and years ago where he felt connected to the whole of the universe. So he's had his own experience. And I sometimes wonder whether like we were meant to meet, because if it had been anybody else, I would have been down to the hospital, you know, booking an MRI, and they would probably be like, well, maybe a psychiatric investigation as well. But also, in this place, sorry, I forgot to mention, like a really big bit, on the left side was a hologram of a very early memory I had of my biological father. And it was just a memory of him running, jogging, and me riding my bike behind him. And when I say picture, it was a hologram. It looked like something out of like Star Trek. Like, and then up here, there was a break in the blackness. And I could see these red oval discs flying by in clear liquid, like a really quick, like a river. So yeah, I think I had a experience of going in, not out.
I want to ask you a few questions if you got time.
Of course, yeah.
What did the amber lights represent, or what do you think they were?
Oh, I think A little while afterwards, I was sat down on the sofa. We're talking probably about 6 months. No, probably not as long as that, but a little while. And I got another download. And I got the impression that there are 4 stages. I kept saying there's 4 stages. Manifestation, those lights, I think, make up the entire of manifestation, if that makes sense. I think we're all made out of these little lights. And so these little lights are all connected. And I think they're a part of God. And they manifest what needs to be manifested, and they're vibrating at a very quick rate. So when we see something solid, they're these orbs that are very close together and vibrating very close together. I mean, it's just a theory, but I did get the download that, or the information that I think there's like 4 levels: manifestation, this bit, and then I got the impression the light. I think the light is the last place. And I also light beings. I got the impression there's light beings helping us, or guardians helping us. That also came with that information.
It sounds like to me that when you're in that realm, only perfection exists, and when you come back to here, there's duality.
Yeah, there's it's like, it's not, to us it's duality, but I don't think there is any duality. I think there is just one, if that makes sense. But while we're manifested as human here on earth, there's duality. It's how it seems, doesn't it? It seems like there's me and this object, but I don't think that's the truth, if that makes sense.
Now, there was one other thing that you mentioned, and I'm not sure what you meant by it. And probably let me even go back and kind of clear this up for me. You had the panic attack, and then you had this experience, and then it sounded like when you were coming out of the experience, or when you came back to your body, or you started having another panic attack again.
It was, the panic was when I was there.
Why?
It was, yeah, I was loving it. I wasn't panicking because I was there. I was panicking because I thought I was going to forget. So I was here, and it was bliss, and it was lovely, and I knew it, if that makes sense. I said I know this place. So yeah, it was sudden panic that I was going to forget it, that the minute I leave this place it was going to go. And I believe now, I mean, it didn't even occur to me until recently, it's Maya, it's the veil, was going to come over and make me forget again.
Okay, yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask you. You said Maya. Is that the name for the veil? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
But yeah.
So how have your panic attacks how are they now since the experience? Is there any change? Hopefully for the better.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's so much change. I mean, since I come back, I really feel like I'm in contact with the people there not people, but the guardians there that are with everybody to help me. I was heavily dependent on opioids. I wasn't addicted. They were prescribed, but I was very dependent on them for pain. I started getting a gut instinct that I need to come off of them. And I was like, oh, did it? I don't know
Great.
how I did it, but I did it.
Awesome.
And I was like, oh, brilliant, I did it. That's great. I can relax now. And then I started getting this gut instinct about, I was on antidepressants. I would never recommend coming off of antidepressants without going to your doctor. I did go to my doctor, but I was getting that gut instinct and it kept on going. I was going, no, I can't do that. I can't do it. because I had a lot of painful emotions. The antidepressants were numbing. I did it. I came off of them. I'm starting to deal with emotions. I will ask for guidance. Not long ago, I was having a hard time, and I asked, like, what am I meant to do? What can I do to help? And I happened to be on YouTube because I live on YouTube. Scrolled, the next thing I scrolled down to was a song called Surrender. And I think it's by somebody called Natalie Taylor. So I think that was a sign. You need to surrender. I mean, with anxiety, it's all about control. You want to control the future. You're frightened of everything. And it's not possible. You cannot control. I still have running thoughts that are associated with anxiety. I still have intrusive thoughts that are associated with anxiety, but I now know they are thoughts. They are not me. I am the quietness that the thoughts arise in. I am that peace. I don't have to follow my thoughts. I do not have to be invested in my thoughts. Like, I see it a bit as in, you can have a nice thought. If you saw a nice person and they were really kind to you, you might follow them and you'd be like, yeah, I'll go walk with them. If you saw somebody who was hateful, nasty, spewing venom to everybody, you wouldn't get your handbag going, yep, come on, let's go. So I kind of do the same with my thoughts. I don't have to follow them. And it's helping. It's definitely helping. So yeah, huge changes, even down to sugary, like, it's only little, but squash. I don't know, have that in the USA, but it's like a sugary mixture you put water into. Like, I just drink water now. Like, I remember sipping some water at one point going, who is this person? I would never have drunk water, and now I only drink water.
That's great.
Just stuff like that. But there's been so much in my past that has led up to this as well. So much that was meant to happen now. Like, I know short on time, so I'll give you a quick instance. I've always had a problem with meat, always. Even since I was young, I remember arguing with my mum all the time, like, because everybody was meat eaters and I couldn't stand it. Eventually I caved, obviously, because, you know, I was young and I was a meat eater. Always repulsed me. Like, if I thought about what I was eating, I couldn't do it. I could only eat certain types of meat. It was just something I was always funny with. And I remember one time sitting on the sofa scrolling through YouTube, and I just finished night shifts. So I came across a documentary called Earthlings, and I would never watch a documentary after night shifts. I haven't got the brain capacity for it. I was too tired, but I just happened to turn it on. Never touched meat or dairy after. So I think I'm not by any means saying everybody should be vegan or vegetarian. That's entirely up to the individual. I'm saying I believe I was meant to be. I was not meant to eat meat. It was supposed to be an experience to come here and not do it. So it's always been in my life, one way or another, to try and get me to stop. So
are you still in contact with the Guardians?
Yeah, definitely. I had a very bad time a couple of months ago. It's hard to understand, like, something so perfect and such a lovely feeling to then, you know, sometimes you hear things on the news and you hear other people's pain. And I remember thinking I had to go to my room because my children were here. I remember sobbing and thinking, why do we do this? Why are we here? and I was speaking to them, and then out of nowhere, I got, I started saying, I am grateful for my husband, I am grateful for my children, I am grateful for my home, and started saying all the things I was grateful for, and I felt a lot better. And that wasn't me. That came out of nowhere. Do you know, that's not the normal thing for me to do. That's not the normal thing for humans to do, is it? To try and turn it around like that, like to be feeling low, to then go, I am grateful for everything.
Mm.
I felt so much better afterwards.
That's great.
Another instance was, I mean, I was laying in bed and I was between that asleep and awake, and I heard the word arrivederci, clear as day, arrivederci. Never heard the word before. So I kind of sprung up because I thought it was in the room, the voice. Went to my phone and Googled it, and it actually means goodbye until we meet again in Italian. So I think somebody was with me during my hard times.
Wow.
And somebody went and said, you know, I don't know, some people reckon we have guardians that come and go
Yeah.
as we need them. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us, and especially since it's so late over there. It's probably almost 2 a.m. So
Yeah, that's
thank you
all
for
right.
that. And you know, I want to say thank you for me and probably all the audience, because you know, we appreciate people coming on and sharing something like what you've had. That's, you know, probably difficult to share.
Yeah,
You know.
I hope it gives somebody hope.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
I appreciate you, and please don't be shy. Come back and share with us again.
Definitely. If I ever get that download, I'll be back.
All right, that'll be great. All right, well,
All
thank
right,
you, and
take
have a great
care.
rest of your weekend.
Bye.
Bye bye. All right. What one? Yeah, he's here. Here he is. Add dad. So you made it. Next up is Jason. He was asking from the chat. So that's a great thing. So if you're in the chat, or you're watching and you're in the chat and you want to come on and join us like Jason is doing, then you just you can look right below the video, and that is where it gives you the room ID and the other thing. Anyways, Jason, can you hear me?
I do.
Hello? Jason, are you there? I see you. Can you see me? Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. All right. Good.
Great, great.
Great. Well,
Hey,
thank you for joining us. Where are you zooming from tonight?
yeah. So first of all, I had no intent of coming on the podcast. I just got the notification that you're on tonight, so I'm like, sweet. So I hopped on, and
Great.
I had this crazy experience this morning. So I started talking about it in the chat, and people were like, hey, maybe you should share what's going on. So yeah, I'm coming to you from Missouri.
What part?
Right there in the Jefferson City, right in the middle.
Right in the middle. Are you close to Springfield?
So I went to school in Springfield. I'm very well aware of Springfield, but that's
great.
more in the southwest part of the state. So
Oh, great.
yeah. But let me give you a little background. My spirituality experience or journey, I guess, started through addiction issues, and have been doing pretty well with that. And so it's been, I don't know, I started with an ayahuasca experience earlier this year, and was amazing. But it showed me that there is something going on that I don't understand, and sent me on just trying to figure out what is going on. And near-death experiences, that's how I got to your podcast. And then I ended up landing on out-of-body experiences, astral projection, things like that. And I was sitting here thinking, you mean I can have a near-death like experience without the trauma and whatnot? And I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's the case, but I would think that they're similar enough that that you can potentially have those types of experiences. So I've read William Buellman's work. He has some really good books out there. I've read, of course, Robert Monroe's books, and they are phenomenal. And what they both preach is stop believing in things and start knowing. And the only way to know is to experience it yourself. And so that's what I've been working on, is how to have these out of body experiences that those men have experienced in life. And so I've been using the Gateway Experience tapes. It's one of those things you have to have patience. There's a lot of them to go through, and it takes some time. And I've just recently got into the Wave 6, which is towards the end, and had some really interesting meditations. And this morning, my wife woke me up, and we were talking for a little bit, and I was like, well, let's just go back to bed for a little bit. And we were going to the zoo today. And so I was like, well, let's just get as much sleep as we can in. And I went to bed. And I remember waking up and my ears were ringing. And I'd recognized this. I've had this experience before. In the middle of the night, I would wake up and my ears were ringing. And I knew that this is potentially a sign that you're starting to go into this state to where you can have an out-of-body experience. They call it the vibrational state. And so I just relaxed and calmed down. And all of a sudden I felt this weird wave come over my body. And I just got up and was still on the bed. But I realized I was out of my body. It was amazing. And the funny thing is I felt like a little kid who couldn't walk. My body was just like, it was almost like jello. And I didn't know how to control it. And I remember saying, I got to get myself under control, or else I'm going to go back into my body. And as soon as I said that, bam, I went back. And so that's it. That's my story.
I still think that's amazing. While you were out, did you look back and see your body?
No, I wish I would have. I literally remember seeing a little bit of the room. The room looked absolutely the same as it did when I woke up and looked around. There was no difference there. I don't remember seeing me or anything like that. I just knew I was up and trying to take control of whatever it was, and I wasn't able to do it. So no, I didn't see myself.
Well, that's okay. That's still a great first step. Did you buy like their home study course or something, and that's what you're doing?
I did. So they're a little on the pricey side.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's the one of the drawbacks, but I don't think they're necessary. You know, William Buellman's books are really good. His techniques that he teaches, I think someone could do it for with a $15 book.
Wow.
But I'll certainly, let you know and hop back on if I have some progress. But at least now I know what it feels like, what to expect. And so moving forward, when I get the ringing in the ears, I know to calm down and allow it to happen.
Well, I'm glad you came on and shared with us. So I was going to ask you, did you feel the course is worth the money? I mean, you get some kind of guideline with meditation to practice, and do you feel like without those tapes you still would have had this experience?
I do, but I think it would have taken longer. I think the Gateway tapes did for me was to train my body to shut down while my mind stayed awake. And that's the state that, from what I understand, you have to be in to have these types of experiences. Your mind stays awake while your body shuts down. And over, the last few months going through those tapes, I was training my brain to stay awake and shut down my body. So I think that can be done without the tapes, but maybe longer. I think probably all of us are different.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so
I have done some of their meditations on their YouTube channel, and for anybody watching, they're free to do on his. It's, I guess, the Monroe Institute. And the first time I did it, I think is the most surprising because it's the first time, obviously, but the one where it's the introduction to the gateway or something like that, and you go through the resonant tuning, and that's pretty freaky because, you know, you're trying to match your voice with all these voices going on. And is that kind of, I'm sure that's probably part of the home series. Is that like probably the very first tape?
It is. So there's 6 complete waves, wave 1 through 6. The first one, like you said, is the introductory stuff, introduction to what he calls focus 10. Focus 10 is mind awake, body asleep. It's the first level. Some people have, from what I understand, liken that to the void, a void-like state. What I get is intense visuals. I still do. When I do regardless of what focus level I go, number one, it feels to me, I've done hypnosis before. It feels to me like a form of hypnosis. The higher number of focus level you go, the deeper you're going. And I still, every time I do one of the meditations, I get some really extreme visuals that can be very interesting.
Have the tapes affected your dreams?
That's one thing I wish I could improve on, because I've had some really intense and cool dreams, but they're very infrequent. And I've asked, you know, like tonight I'm going to have a dream and remember it, and then I wake up and I don't. So I don't have any kind of control over remembering dreams. So I don't think that those have improved my dream state at all, or maybe my ability to remember them. I'm not sure.
All right. Well, Jason, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us. And, you know, next time something happens, please come back and share with us again. I think it was really cool.
Yeah. Hey, I'd just like to throw a shout out. I really like your work, and thanks for doing what you do.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you for watching and participating. All right. Have a great rest of your weekend. Cheers. All right. So that was pretty cool. And we've got Merlin here. So, you know, usually Merlin is the first person, and we start the podcast off with a reading from Merlin, but he just wasn't the first one here yet. And I wanted to go in order, so we're going to do it now. Or maybe a lot of you are never here right from the very beginning, and so you don't get to catch Merlin's reading. Hi, Merlin.
Hey, how you doing, Jeff?
Great. You've got a big audience today, so
Okay.
we're going to have a hopefully we'll get a great reading.
And as requested for last time, cards that I cannot tell what they are. They're all the same. So when they come out, I won't know what they are.
Oh, that's great. So for those of you who have never been, Merlin uses different tarot cards every time he comes. Sometimes they're angel cards or fairy cards or whatever. And what we're speaking about is that all the other cards has a design on it, so you know whether it's upside down or inverted. But with these cards, they don't. There you go, like that. And what deck is this today? What is this one called?
This is a pocket-sized radiant Rider-Waite. So they just blew the colors out of the original Rider-Waite. They just made the colors pop, you know. But this is a pocket size. You can carry it around in your pocket, you know, if you want to do a reading on the go. Yeah, but I want to mention on September 22nd, that was the day of the magician. Because if you take 2 and 2, that's 4, and the 22nd was on the 4th day of the week. So you add that together, you get 8. Now, the strange thing is, even when you take the month of September being 9, you add that to that 8, you get 17. Then 1 plus 7 is 8. Day of the magician. And another funny fact is the 23rd, when you know who mobilized a lot of troops recently.
Right.
That was, if you do all the calculations, that's number 5. That's a number of change. and going against social norms. Now, all you people that are into numerology can verify all that. Add it all together, do the math, it comes out to 5. So that's a number of change, which is very, very interesting. So to me, that's telling me that was kind of strategic, maybe not on his part, maybe our higher consciousness somewhere. I don't know. But what I want to say is I want to give people hope real quick. Don't worry about, the end of everything, because if I know a lot of people, I love peace, I love love, but I know a lot of people see if there is a galactic federation, they see them as a peaceful, faring star species and collective group of different races and species, and they all work together like Star Trek. But if they really, really, really want to preserve life on Earth and one day elevate us to star-faring species status, they're not going to let anything happen to this planet or to the majority of the species. I really believe that. If there is a federation. Right. Now there were reports over Ukraine of phantom UFOs and stuff like that by the scientists over there. So I mean, it could be some of them. If there's a galactic federation, maybe that's them. I don't know. So.
All right, now for those of you that are new, Merlin puts out 3, I guess you could say they're piles, but three piles of cards you can choose from. So you can be in 1, 2, or 3.
Correct.
And to get your reading, and you don't have to put it in the chat. You can just keep it to yourself what number you are.
Yeah.
And usually he puts down a card and then a second confirmation card.
Yes, sir. And even if somebody's watching this in the future, it still can work for them because their energy is going to vibrate and gravitate towards the frequency that they're on right now, the path they're on right now. Right. So that's how this works. So no worries. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So this will be interesting to see what we get today.
Yeah. Just trying to start.
And while Merlin is shuffling and putting out the cards, if you don't know, I have something called Discord, which is kind of like Facebook, but different. It's totally free. You go ahead and you get your free profile, and then below there's a link and you can join my server, which are basically like my rooms. And there's one room called services. And people that go there and offer services for free. And one of those people is Merlin, and he goes there, and if you want a free reading from him, you message him here, message him on Discord, and then he sets up a time with you.
Correct. And just remember guys, that at me, at Merlin, and I should be tagged and I will look at it immediately. Okay, I'm just gonna draw 3 from the top, then I'll shuffle to clarify for those. Can y'all see that? Bring it back up.
There you go, that's better.
Okay, here. Okay.
So it's interesting. I didn't remember you draw. I thought you always shuffled through it.
Well, this is you. Well, I'm drawing from the. I do it both ways. It just depends. Honestly, this is just to cut down time, but I still have faith in whatever's meant for message for them to have. They'll receive it, and I think I honestly believe no matter how many times I shuffle it, if something's supposed to come out, it's going to come out. That's just laws of nature, laws of the universe, frequency stuff. So I'm a man of great faith. Okay, clarifying the first one. Okay, let's keep shuffling. See, I gotta buy the bigger size of these, but because it's little, takes time. Okay, we got one that came out. Takes time to get used to got another one, to the shuffling process of these. Okay, nothing yet. Okay.
There it is.
All right. So the first one for Power One, guys, is the King of Pentacles, which is a very positive card. You pretty much have like the Midas touch So everything is you're balancing your finances in a smart and calculating manner, and you're full of abundance right now, and you're prosperous. Okay. Now with the death card in reverse, guys, that means I mean, you may be successful, but you're still further growth possibly, or you have opportunities to be the King of Pentacles, and you're refusing to change, to adapt, so you can have that wealth. Because the death in reverse is stagnant. You're just refusing to change. You're refusing to move, right? Because I know a lot of people, death card has a bad rap. People see it and not used to tarot. Like, oh my God, death, I'm going to die. That's not what it means. Death is a card of change. And we're refusing to change. Okay, pile 2, guys. You got the 4 of Pentacles in reverse. Now that is good. You're not being too greedy with your resources. You're not clutching all your money, and you're not spending too. Possibly, you could also be spending too frivolous, but you're not. You're doing that good. Now the Sun in reverse. Even in reverse, the Sun is a good card, guys. It's a positive card. Okay. There might be a little healing. A little healing with the Sun reverse, because in the upright it's all about vitality, abundance, and in reverse it's like you're being offered abundance and growth and vitality, but for some reason you're not accepting that, and that could be contributing. I'm having a little trouble with this one, because this doesn't really make that much. This is good though, but why is it in reverse though? I may have to draw another card for this for pile 2 to get a clear understanding, because this is still a little confusing. So I want to clarify that, if that's okay.
All right.
Okay.
Somebody said.
Okay. Got one. It's the Page of Swords in the upright. Okay. Okay, that makes more sense then. You're going. Okay. You need it. Okay, the swords represents logic, reason, and saying the truth. You're in this case, the way these cards are with the Sun reverse, you're going full head towards everything. You're not. You need to think things through, and that's probably why you're getting that Sun energy. You're not getting that radiant vitality. And this also regards finances as well. So, okay, this makes more sense. So okay, so finances not that good right now. With this in reverse, that's what I'm getting, because you're running head on into life. You're not thinking things through, and you're making bad decisions. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
That
sometimes the readings come out a little negative.
Yeah, I thought, but usually the four of Pentacles in reverse can be a good card by itself. Okay, so number 3. Oh, number 3 is 3. Can't make this up. You cannot make this up. Number 3 is 3, guys. That's, you can see, as you can see with the guy right there, guys. He's looking toward the future. He's moving. He's traveling. Okay, he's traveling to a different region, different land, different place. Okay, so you're going, you're moving, you're looking in the horizon. Okay, you also got with this card, you got the Page of Pentacles in reverse, isn't it? That's so. Okay, so you're looking towards the horizon for money, is regarding your money, your finances, because right now, does it seem either you're not accepting the gift of you're not accepting your gifts, and you're having a bad time financially, so you may be looking towards the horizon, because maybe you think your luck will change if you travel somewhere else. So that's number 3. So, wow. Okay. Now, the second pile, it confused me because it threw me off. So I had to draw 3 cards for that one, because that alone was not enough information for me to even gather a complete answer for that. So I had to do extra one there.
That's interesting is today this was heavily influenced about finances. All of
Yeah.
them.
I know I didn't I just now sometimes I just do tarot readings. I don't really analyze it like that. Since you bring that up, you're right. You're right.
Hmm.
Wow.
Wow, that's interesting. Maybe finances are on everybody's mind right now. So somehow money's on the collective mind, and somehow your reading was tapping into that collective energy about finances.
Yeah, everything has a vibration. That's for sure. I won't. The reason I chose the name for my page Merlin
Hmm.
in the Fake King's Crown because I thought Merlin was a people when they think of Merlin, think of power. They think of magic, you know.
Right.
But I didn't realize if you do if you go a numerology calculator, his name alone, Merlin, equals 8.
Hmm.
Can't make it up. And even if you go by Merlin Sylvestris, even with that Merlin, even with those names, those two names, his last name, it still equals 8, which is crazy.
Hmm. That's cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So wow. It seems like 8 follows me around. 4 and 8 follows me around because when I played football, I can't control the jersey they gave me. So they gave me. I wanted to get 24, but somebody else picked it in front of me because he was a grade higher than me. So I got 48. Life Pass 4, Soul Urge is 8. Yeah, so crazy.
Cool. Well, Marilyn, thank you for coming by and giving us all a reading. I hope
Yes, sir.
we see you back next week.
You will. You will.
And have a great week, bud.
You too, Jeff. I appreciate you.
All right, take care.
Yes, sir.
Cheers. All right, and we've got Mr. Cake here. And I was wondering about him. You know, it's 8:23, and we haven't seen him all evening. And so now he's here.
Hello there.
Well, you've got some glasses. When
I
did
got
you get
glasses.
those?
Maybe I could take them off, man.
You've got some cool glasses there. So how's your week been this week, Stephen?
Very nice, very nice. Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to the show. I know it's a big comedy show. We like JeffMara. I just prayed for you, buddy. See you go, and you're gonna do pretty good tonight. I think you're doing pretty good.
You know,
Yes.
I wanted to tell you that I saw that video, and the 3 things that you've got to add to Trump are many people say, possibly, and there was one more.
Lots of people are talking to me now. I got God the Father, Mother Mary, and Jesus Christ. They're both coming through to me all the time. Thank you. God bless me. God bless. I cast all the demons out and blessing. I bless Jeff and his audience. I raise all their chakras. I raise them up. Baby, we're doing pretty good here tonight, aren't we, folks? We're doing pretty good. I love you, folks. You're doing pretty good. So I used to only have, so I did research in this, and that we
Yeah.
all get gifts when we
Yes.
come in here. So when you're talking to guests,
Yes.
you're one with God. That means if
Interesting.
you're talking to a guest, it's the equivalent of God talking to a guest. Just like when Tiger Woods swings a golf club, it's the equivalent of God swinging. When you hear Celine Dion sing, it's the equivalent of God singing. When you hear Casey I'm talking, I don't do it as well, but when you hear me doing entertainment, you're hearing God do some entertainment, darling. It's wonderful to hear. So I love your hair, I love your glasses, I love every one of you out there. You're wonderful to me.
So, I don't know if it was you I was talking with. I was talking to somebody about this, and if we are all have a piece of God within us, and we actually come to that full realization, will we just that we are God as well? Will we just disappear from our body?
Yeah. So let me tell you something that I've been talking to the mother, the father, and let me just explain this real quick. So Jesus is like your best. He'll do whatever you say. He said he put the reference in Full House. You got it, dude. He said that was him. You got it, dude. Because when you ask him something, he says, "You got it, dude." He said that. He did that. The father's like an architect in the Matrix. The Matrix is loaded with analogies. He said he's like the architect, and the mother's. He said it's not as accurate, but the woman in there. He said Jesus is not Neo. Jesus is Morpheus. We're Neo. We're the people making the choice. And the greatest act is going to be when they allow the demons. So the Agent Smith is the demons. They allow them to go in to the body so he can absorb it, crush them, and victory, baby, we're winning. We're number one. New hairstyle, folks. No, it's no hairstyle. I just did this. But you people love whatever I do, so I can do anything I want on here. You people just praise me, You say, you're just so wonderful. Yay.
So, well, first of all, I agree that your hair looks cool. Second of all, so are you saying so are you saying that from the Matrix, Morpheus is Jesus? What is the one? The Oracle is.
He's given us the choice. He's giving us the choice between good and evil. The red pill. So we're actually in like a type of game where it can only end until everyone is either totally good or totally evil. And I was talking to Father about this, and he said no one's ever seen a win for good. He said most games get over in a million years, and they end in one way: destruction. He said no one. The problem is, he said, and everyone started off choosing evil because that's the way to win, baby. Because everything's about fulfilling a fantasy, and so we're all just trying to fulfill our fantasies. It's just God wants us to do it in a benign way. So if you go look at bad stuff on the internet, see what you're doing is trying to fulfill a fantasy, but in a bad way. So God wants to fulfill fantasies in a good way. So once we're fulfilled, then we'll turn to him and start doing what he wants. What God, the mother and the father want.
I was just thinking you had a good idea, or possibly a great idea for the movie, and that is nobody, moves forward or wins the game until everybody becomes evil or everybody becomes good. And I could see a movie.
That's how it ends.
I could see how the entire world is evil except one last person. And what does he do? Does he become good, or does he and make everybody else good again, or does he become evil?
Yeah. And there's another myth about hell, is that like you're being tortured or something. They're just fulfilling their fantasies. They're just doing it in a bad way. That's like I asked about people in heaven, people in hell. He said, Bob Saget's, he's in heaven. Robin Williams is in heaven. He's going to be declared the king of comedy. So like there's all these categories. And so God said that I was going to be declared king of showing mercy, is like the one where you show mercy towards people harming you. I can't remember it right off the bat, but I'm connected to someone who isn't showing mercy. So it's like I'm getting bumped down to the lowest, the repentant king. So it's people that have committed horrible things, but they're repented. I haven't done it. It's just that I'm connected to someone who has, the woman has, not me.
Are you speaking of Monique?
No, I asked her about her, and they said she's more like a cheerleader on a team. They said there's so many analogies with like sports teams. It's like we all choose a role. And I said she's like a cheerleader. So it's like the cheerleader is not the friend of the people playing the game. So they said she's not like your friend or anything. She's more like a cheerleader. And they also said that when she sometimes she said, they can move my body. They said sometimes that's demons, but a demon is just an unrepented soul. And they said that everyone chooses their role, and like even rocks and sticks and twigs and everything is like part of the game. Like they chose a role, and some of them are in rebellion. And the never ending story was they said that was a great analogy, because this is like a rock dude. They said, well, yeah, rocks they have a will, but they don't have consciousness. And they said there's a lot of stuff that we just can't quite understand because we're stuck in the human mindset. Like, how can a rock have a will, and how can it choose to rebel? It doesn't make any sense. But I wrote down some. Yeah, you're gifted. I wrote down some of your gifts. I'll see if I can find where I wrote them.
All right. It looks like you're highlighting your hair. Is that just natural sun
That's
highlights?
just natural. I don't know. I didn't do anything to it.
Looks good.
So when you have a guest on, they feel loved. So I wrote that down.
Well, that's great. I like that you say that.
Yeah, you have a godly talking voice. Your voice is godly. And you have the ability to teach kids.
Yeah, you know me pretty well.
Yeah, you want, let's say I can do more. Oh yeah, here's one thing you'll really be amazed by. You get, so spirit people watch your videos and you get 100,000 spirit viewers an episode.
So that, are you saying people on the other side are watching?
Yes, that's right. Because
awesome.
you don't just stop existing when you die. You go into the spirit world.
That's pretty
On
amazing.
on a Saturday night podcast, you get 100,000 spirit viewers. On a regular video, you get 900,000, because some people want to continue to learn, and this is a way to do it. But that's actually a low. It sounds big, but it's a low number, because I got Joe Rogan gets 45 million spirit viewers.
Wow.
Yeah. The Mother Mary gave me an analogy, because she had me stare as in the office here. They have an 8-ball, and she had me stare at it. And I said, "Why'd you have me stare at it?" She said, "Because we're on the magic 8-ball." She said the Earth is actually 8 billion years old, and shaking it is what the demons do, and they give us bad answers. She said that was a perfect analogy for that. We're looking for answers in all the wrong places. What we need to do is ask God into our, it's all about submission to God, just asking God, please God. So if you want to be better at something, you want to be better on your show, just ask God. God wants to, he wants, okay, understand this. God wants to win the game, and he wants to, that's why he wants to help you, because it's going to win the game for good. He wants you to win. He wants everyone to succeed, so the game ends, but on the good way. That's why Jesus wants to help everyone. Jesus is, so there's actually people that are in the game and out of the game. So Jesus is not part of the game. He's more like a referee or something, some kind of person that's just helping the game. You and me are in the game. And I actually found this out, that a lot of psychics are people that did horrible things in the past, and they ask God for, they're disqualified from the game. They can't become a king or queen in heaven, but they didn't want to go to hell, so they said, okay, I'll serve you. So that's why they're coming, because I did Matt Frazier and like Long Island Medium and this one lady I know, and I got, yeah, they're disqualified. They can't win, but they don't want to go to hell, so they're serving God.
So they're getting, where are they getting their information from?
Oh, third eye. So let's boost your third eye up here. Okay, we're gonna boost the audience's third eye. Okay, you're all gonna become psychic now. You're all great, you're wonderful. See, it goes back down though, because we have there's a baseline, we can boost it up. We just ask. So one prayer I want everyone to pray for is their chakras to be in alignment. Just say, God, align my chakras, like that, and it will boost you right back. Before I came on this show, your chakras were out of alignment. I didn't check which ones, but I said, boost them up, God. You're boosted up. They're back up into the positive.
Cool.
Well, I love everyone.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
We're gonna do what you're gonna do, man.
So
yeah, see, God, can you tell that God has touched me? I mean,
yeah, I was going to ask you. You have definitely changed, and I was wanting to know how are you communicating with God?
Okay, so we have a third eye. So I'm trying to think what would be so like he said for me, I sense the mother right here. The father's like up and above, and Jesus is kind of far off to the left. So whenever and Archangel Michael's right here, and then George Carlin was down there when I talked to him. It's like, so it's like we have like in the architect's room, like there's all these different screens. See, in the architect's room, that was the all those screens of Neo are the demons messing with people, because the problem is when you have a third eye, the demons are constantly constantly telling me bad stuff. So I have to constantly cast them out. I have to cast them out about every 15 seconds
You know, it's interesting.
because I'm connected to this woman. Because
I was gonna say, sometimes when I've experienced this today, and when I wonder if when people's energy raises, it actually interferes with the internet service, because I feel like perhaps, you know, we've had a great
me ask
run
Jesus
this
about that.
time, and all of a sudden maybe your energy's rating, and
he
now
says, no, it's not.
then why are we having these internet problems? You've been doing great up until the last
He
30
says
seconds.
demons. He says they're just messing with people. He
Ah.
said, so there's a myth about demons is that they all want people to suffer and die. He said, no, they just want to fulfill their fantasies. And some of them, like the slapping, like a demon was slapping me. So my fantasy is to interact with the spirit world. Their fantasy is to interact with humans. So we're both kind of
Symbiotic
anything.
relationship.
That's right. But it's so they're, he said most, like 99% are benign. It's more like they're not big deals.
Mm-hmm.
He said, and the ones they got angels watching the malicious ones. So he said, you don't really have to worry about them.
What did he say about your relationship with Monique?
We just went over. She's basically a cheerleader. He said that she was kicked out of the game a long time ago, and this life, the suicide was planned, and she just wanted to be with her friends, but she was kicked out of the game a long time ago. Because if you do evil, I'll use an analogy. If we're in a chess tournament, and you cheat, you can win the tournament, but the arbiter, and the father said mother said she loved my analogy here with the arbiter, is watching, recording everything, and you're kicked out of the game if you cheat. So she said, I played by the rules. That's why I'm still in the game. We all got to play. See, you can get a boost, you can get ahead, but it's always gonna come back to you. Because the word I was looking for was grace. I was gonna be the king of grace, because people have harmed me and I didn't retaliate. So my father destroyed my life and I didn't retaliate. And they said that they're gonna actually be, get their comeuppance because they didn't show me grace. They kicked me out. They dumped me into a terrible place, and they could have brought me back at any time. They have a wonderful house.
Maybe they'll take you back.
Yeah, we'll pray for healing in all relationships. I got the act would be a positive act if they brought me back. But it wouldn't solve my I need more than that, but it would be a positive act, because it's like everything has a level. And I will post something in the comments after this, that because everything is like, it's a duty. First off, it's deficient or painful, but then it's like you're doing a duty. So let's see here. Like taking out the trash for you would be a duty. Dancing for you is fun. Singing, you really enjoy singing, and you're really good at it. You're a master at using the internet, like surfing the web. So it means it takes energy, but you're good at it. Your voice is godly. And when you talk to guests, you're one with God. So, and we can go over more. Yeah, I like helping people like that, tell them their gifts, because God wants you to use your gifts.
Let me ask you this.
And you're doing it.
Let me ask you this. Maybe you should be in Discord, and what you're doing with me, you can do with other people. And offering your free, it's free services, so you have to do it for free through Discord, but maybe you would like to do that. Are you in Discord?
I'll ask Jesus. Let me ask Jesus about what he says about that. He said they would like it. He said I don't have to do it, but they would like it.
Yeah. I mean, are you in Discord?
And people can always, you can always leave a comment on any of my videos, and I'll be leaving some. So, and I'll respond. So,
cool. Oh.
I haven't, like I said, I've just been talking to God, and I live in a group home. So I'm just spreading the love and telling them that God loves them. That's what I've been doing. So I haven't really been watching a lot of YouTube videos or doing much, but he boosted up, like in the video, I said I only had 3 gifts. I could talk to people's hearts was one of them. now I got all gifts. So I can sing and I can dance. I can sing and I can dance and I can entertain. Wow, but if you see a dinosaur coming, run away, run away, run away. T-Rex. He said Jurassic Park was a perfect analogy to the Garden Eden. He said the two kids were Adam and Eve, and they were naive, but they had all these powers. John Hammond is like God, who created the kids. Grant with a hat, that's Jesus. He's protecting the kids. They created Adam and Eve created dinosaurs, but they were naive, so they gave them too much power. So they had to try to keep them in cages. And then a Tyrannosaurus Rex, just like in the movie, escaped and killed Adam and Eve. But that's what happened. That's why Adam and Eve died. And that was like billions and billions of years ago. And then there's been a process. And I said, this is really interesting because creationists say that there's no way the moon could have been there. And they're right. So it's like they get some things right, some things wrong, because that's why you have to talk to the Father about this. But he said that the custodians, like he says in an analogy, they put like a firecracker in a volcano and it caused the earth to go on a wobble or something like that. So he had to create the moon to stabilize it. And here's something that the guests they'll love to hear is like, I looked into that Bigfoot. I asked about the Bigfoot footage and he said they smuggled it in from another. So we're in game rooms and someone smuggled it in. He said he doesn't know, but people can smuggle things in. They smuggled that thing in like tricksters did and put it in front of these people that were looking for Bigfoot. So it was a real creature, but it wasn't from this world. They smuggled it in. And he said that thing wandered around scared for months before someone came and pulled it back into, got it out of here.
Wow.
And I asked about UFOs and he said, he said it's more like custodians just kind of like testing stuff out. He said they're just kind of like testing, like, it's not malicious or anything. They're just like doing some tests. And I asked about, what about like Loch Ness? And he said that humans, they want to like bring them back. Let me ask him that. He said, yeah, that's correct. They want to bring the stuff back. They want to bring back these extinct animals. I can't do Biden.
Oh, my wife said it too. You can't do Biden.
He made all the prayers.
Well.
Can't do sleeping about Joe Biden. Marty, I'm just back from the future, Marty. It's 20 years in the future, Marty. Hunter Biden is not president, Marty. He's got everyone smoking mozzarella. It's just a nightmare over here, Marty. You gotta go back to 1885 where I live. It's nice and safe there, Marty. Abe Lincoln's a great president.
Well, Stephen, I've got to do what I've got to do. I've got people waiting on me, two of them.
Do what you gotta do, man. Thanks for coming on. God bless you all, and thank you very much. And I hope everyone has a wonderful night.
Thank you. God bless you. And I hope to see you next week. Take care. Cheers.
God bless you.
He can. Yeah, we could do that. Maybe, I lost a guy. Maybe she feels like his transition would. Kate? When you say, are you saying Kate? K-A-T-E or cake? K-E-I, any Oh yeah, if someone wants to come on and they don't want to be on video, then sure, we'll let them do that. Whoever's asking that. Mr. Jack. Hello, Mr. Jack.
Good evening, Jeff. Peace be with you. Can you hear me?
Yes, and also with you. Where are you zooming from?
I am in northwestern U.S. I'm in Oregon.
Oregon, cool. All right, awesome. Thank you for joining. And what do you have to share with us this evening?
I'm going to keep it quick because I think you said you're running till about 15 minutes from now.
Well, just do what you do because a lot of times I go over time. So I just keep going into it's technically 7 to 9, but I just keep going until there's no more guests. Whether it's
that's very kind of you.
Sometimes I go late and sometimes I finish right on time. Every weekend's different.
And this is why you actually draw a very particular sort of energy here. So honestly, I have had my experiences. They are or would be the least interesting experiences to ever grace your channel. So I'll
Mhm.
spend less time on those. I will only say, as far as they're concerned, that they were useful to me because for a long time I asked for an experience to help me understand these experiences
Okay.
so that I could help explain them better. And so when I had my experience, and this is why I say it was very uninteresting, I didn't see anything. But what I got was the ability to analyze my thoughts in just a fraction of a second. Like the amount of time that passed was the amount of time it takes for a person to emit a death rattle, if you're familiar with just that little burbling sound you make. And I didn't even finish making the sound, but I had an entire thought process and experience that happened in the middle of that anyway. Another interesting side note about that was many years later when I actually remembered that this happened to me, I expected that, well, I started having this feeling build up that I had an experience. I'd had a near death experience. I didn't know when. And then as the certainty started to build up, I became certain that it was this one time that I had an operation. It's the only time I've ever had surgery. And I was in the middle of telling someone, just some other day, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to remember it. And boom, I remember the experience. And it was not at all on that day. It was on a day I didn't realize that I had actually left my body. But moving on, the reason I called tonight is because of the main interesting thing that, as I've studied the concept of near-death experiences, which is why I've been on your channel and others like it, is I'm trying to understand and help sort of spread the knowledge that's coming through from these experiences into here, because clearly there's some reason for that. But a big part of what I've started to see is that we will be able to understand these things better when we start to drop some of our sort of human preconceptions. Now that's very difficult to do because all we know how to be is human, right? So it's like if you live in a world full of squares and I tell you to imagine a not square, you're not going to think of a triangle, even though it's a pretty obvious logical, So the thing that I wanted to talk about is something I've kind of collected from several disconnected near-death experiences, and it's about how consciousness works. And the fundamental thing, which you've probably come across too, is that it is a spectrum, like light. It's a polarity. And so there is a range, there's a point of awareness where it feels like a singular point and you experience everything. And on the other end of that, it feels like a singular point again, but you feel like this one thing in the midst of many things. But like I said, it's a spectrum, just like colors are a spectrum. And so you can place arbitrary points along that spectrum to say, all right, at this point you're this, at this point you're that. But in reality, there are no such points. This is relevant because a lot of people have the questions about why do near-death experiences contradict each other so much. And I think that's a lot of the time because of where the person finds themselves on that spectrum when they pop out. So some people find themselves all the way over here and a lot of things make sense and life looks like a game. Some people find themselves over here and there's heaven and there's hell and there's punishment and angels and demons and so on and so on. So ultimately, I think it may help to start to think of ourselves or our true selves as members of a collective. It's the weirdest thing because we don't have any context for this. I don't know of any natural organisms that are known to be collectives. Although we point to things like ant colonies that act like collectives, even humans do. But the point is, the more we start to think about things like that, the more we may start to understand how information flows between states of consciousness, and also why you can come back into the body and be allowed to remember some things and not allowed to remember some other things. In that sense, it's kind of like local anesthesia to your arm. You can prevent the arm from feeling certain sensations, but the arm that's not the arm's natural state, right? So the moment you drop that lock, it's just going to get this surge of information, and you know, it can handle that in different ways. But anyway, that's sort of the heart of what I wanted to share. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and I think you had two great points. One was that I love that you have this spectrum, because I think it makes a lot of sense of where you are on, where you are on your consciousness, and and I think about this stuff all the time, obviously, because I basically have these conversations every single day because I record a video almost every single day. And as you were speaking, one of my guests told me, you should be writing this down. I think she was like channeling when she told me this. You should be writing this down so you understand it more. Because I get all the stuff and I just never, I'm always trying to organize all this information myself. And it really hit home for me today listening to you that I need to sit down and write this stuff down. And there was so I thought that was pretty interesting how you said that we there could be a spectrum of consciousness. Maybe to add, I think part of the experience is where you are. We use these words, where you are on your energy. What's your energy level? Which again, still may be saying what you're saying, but a different way. Where is your consciousness at? So my only way to put this easily to make it understandable is if you watch a really depressing movie, there's your energy level. Just think about how you feel. And then if you watch this comedy that's hilarious, then you're going to see how you feel. Because I think laughing and joy is going to be the highest amount of spectrum. So,
Exactly.
So, you can be somewhere on that. And really what I loved also, what you thought of, and I never thought about this until right now, is I never imagined the human race as a collective. Because we're so ego-based and we're so individualized that I never thought of it as, imagine we're a collective, like a hive of bees.
It's interesting because everything in society kind of points to that, but we just never really acknowledge it. Like we have all these systems, but it's easy to point to them because they're malfunctioning in some way. Oh, there's a government and it's a bad thing and so on, which is not to say all governments are good, but we tend to emerge these collective structures. We evolve much like our bodies do. We build organs, we improve those organs, and then they evolve into other things. And so, yeah, and I guess I just wanted to touch on where the concept of these levels or within the arbitrary points in the spectrum go. It's not to imply that, people are on fixed points or that, therefore being in fixed points you have to make your way along. It's just that it's pretty much like what you said. Like you could watch a comedy movie and it raises your spectrum out. Now if that something unfortunate happens and you find yourself on the other side, you're less likely to find yourself in a terrible near-death experience because your spirits were so lifted. And so, and by the same by the same vein, it's sort of the contrast, right? So when COVID hit, there were some people who were thinking of things like zombie outbreaks happening. And that didn't cross my mind because I don't typically watch things like that. And, so, but it was comical to me because I'm aware of the concept. And I was like, I can see how you might see that, but it's still a bit incredible. So yeah, anyway, ultimately, that's just the idea of we need to start to really shift, because along that spectrum of consciousness, humanity is, the color yellow in a spectrum that goes from the ultraviolet way past the infrared. So we're not just the color yellow, we're a very particular shade of a type of light yellow, if that makes sense. Like you zoom in really close and you get this thing, and then you zoom out a little bit and what we think is orange, might be whales, right? Something that seems so dissimilar to us, but is still in the grand scheme of things very similar to us. Because if you push out even further, because I think another of your guests earlier today was saying rocks have consciousness. Yes,
Right.
it's a vast spectrum. So yeah, we need to, when we think about near-death experiences, we need to understand that it encompasses more than humans, and any experiences that focus too much on the anthropocentric experience may be feeding you baby food, right? And that's
Yeah.
okay. But if you feel mature enough, it may be okay to start asking, I would like to chew now. That's it.
If you watch the podcasts a lot, and if you
I do.
don't, that's okay. I don't expect
I
anybody
do.
to watch a lot. I just can tell my experience because I watch them all. I'm there. But it seems like that there are a lot of synchronicities. One kind of flows into the other. And what's fascinating for me this week is the majority of people appear to be saying that they, on the other side, were just awareness. Not even like
Absolutely.
a being or anything. You're not even this whole life on earth, whatever. You don't even think about. Even this guy, I think that I posted yesterday, was saying there isn't even no I. You're just awareness.
Absolutely. In fact, in my experience, I didn't have a body, and that didn't seem unusual. I didn't have any visual input. That didn't seem unusual either. There are only two forms of information coming in. One was a sound, which I later discovered my body was making, and the other was my thought process analyzing the sound, which sounded to me as clear as I'm talking to you right now. So, in retrospect, I just kind of dove in and broke down everything around what I was thinking and realized, yeah, there was no visual input, but that didn't affect me. And I was aware there was no visual input because I felt like my orientation changed when I turned my attention to the sound and became conscious in my body. So yeah, I can definitely see that. And that is a point in that spectrum. Now we get into a different dimension of consciousness, because we've talked about the idea of, humans and then fading into things like whales or
Yeah.
but then there's also this concept of awareness, right? And that's the sense of I, the I-ness, and that's what shifted. Anyway, I start to lose myself. I don't want
That's okay. I'm gonna have to run, but before I go, I'm just curious. I'm just on my own whim. Are you a gamer, streamer?
I am not a gamer or a streamer, but I
Okay.
do software, so I sit here a lot.
Oh, okay, because I saw the chair and you have looks like an expensive type of certain type of mic, and I thought, and
I used to make music.
okay, there you
but
go. That's
not
why I
anymore.
put that all together.
Awesome.
Well, it's
Well,
close.
thank you so much.
Well,
for your
Mr.
time.
Jack, thank you for coming and sharing with us. Don't be a stranger, and I hope you come back and share with us again.
I'll be happy to. Thank
All right,
you.
take care.
See you.
Cheers. All right, so next up is Punisher. Now, I think Punisher has been on here before, and I think she said that is her.
Thank you so much. Well, Mr. Jack, thank you.
Her child or grandchild's screen name is what I'm gonna guess. I'm pretty sure that's who Punisher is. And once I see Punisher, I have a feeling I know who she is. But I'm saying it's a she, so we'll see. See if my memory is pretty good today.
Hi.
Hello. Hello. Is Punisher your son's screen name?
Yes, it is.
See, I remembered you. I got you.
I'm Heidi from Southern California,
All right.
Orange County.
All right. But you're wearing a New York Yankees hat. What's up with that?
It's
just kidding.
It's just a hat. I grabbed it and
I don't know. I'm just playing around because you're from California, and I said you're California and you're wearing a New York hat.
Oh.
So thank you for coming back again. What do you have to share with us tonight?
Well, I just want to say the last gentleman that was on, what a lovely man. I loved listening to his ideas, and that was great. I actually logged in because of the gentleman Jason, who was sleeping, and something happened last night that just reminded me of that. Again, this never happens. Here I go again. This never happened. But so my husband is working last night, so he wasn't here last night. So I went, turned the TV off, and I was getting ready for bed, and I had just laid down, and something pressed on the covers and moved them down a little bit from my face. Um, and then all of a sudden, I felt something there, which was really strange. So I had to get up and turn the light on and turn the TV back on. So that was a little interesting.
Yeah.
I ended up having lunch with my mom today, which was nice. And it seems that when I talk with her, we have similar stories. And I'm almost wondering if these type of events are like genetic, maybe passed down. I don't know. But anyway, I had lunch with her, and she had just, and I didn't tell her this story that I just told you, but she ended up telling me that she came downstairs last night. Well, it was the early morning. She came downstairs, and she had this like electrical energy, like she felt like her hair was standing straight up, and she knew somebody was there, and she just walked around her mirror and went to the other way into the other room. And it just, I don't know, it's just another story that's to add to my collection, I guess.
Is it possible that someone visited both of you?
Well, that's actually very possible. My mom's boyfriend, my mom's boyfriend's dad passed away about 3 months ago, and I was in the kitchen with my daughter, and so I'm vegetarian, so I've never had meat. So, and I only say that because I said to her in the morning, what's that smell? And she said, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you smell that? And it was horrible. The smell was horrible. So I just, dismissed it. And then later I'm cooking, some roasted vegetables, nothing, crazy. And I smelled it again, and I said, do you smell that? And she goes, no, what? I said, it's like rotting, something, like rotting flesh, like just burnt flesh, like. And so she said, I don't smell it. So I didn't think anything of it. I just, then the next day I called my mom, and we were just talking about something else. And then all of a sudden because, we're fairly close. And I said to her, something so weird happened to me last night. It's never happened to me before. And she said, I explained the story to her, and she said, I can't believe that you said that to me. I got that smell in my kitchen, and that smell followed me all day around at work. So I knew that. She then said to me, do you think it was someone? And I said, yes, I feel like it was somebody. And then we came to the conclusion of who it was. So I think that's also what's happening. Like there's he's visiting
Are
us.
you saying that he was like loved to eat steak or bacon or something?
Say that again?
Are you saying that he was a meat eater?
No. And yeah, he ate meat, but I don't know why. I don't know why I had that smell. I've never had that smell. It was horrible. The smell was horrible. And she also said the same thing. So I don't know. I don't know if me and her have this like connection.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he was trying to, I don't know.
Have you ever shared with her your experiences?
Oh, yes. Yes. The last time I was on, well, I had mentioned last time when I was on, I was 13 and that woman was floating. I'm the one that lived in the mortuary. My parents moved it,
Okay.
and the woman was floating at the end of my bed. And I ended up telling my mom about that. She actually, there were, everybody had instances there. I never told my friends that came over about the house because I didn't want them to know. But she, and when I was on your show last time, about a few weeks ago, I said, if I come on again, I'll tell you about my mom and the walk-in. I guess they're called walk-ins.
Mm-hmm.
And so she had numerous experiences, but one was she was in the house and she had this feeling inside. It like came inside of her, of this longing and this sadness, like wanting to come into her. And she had to like um like she didn't want it. She like pushed it away, and so she had that experience. My dad also had experiences in the house where he actually saw spirits. We had it was a Victorian house, so there was two staircases, and on the main staircase he had there were spirits that would come around the corner coming down the stairs, and he would see them. My mom also said that they didn't like her. They didn't want her in the house. They didn't like her. So it was yeah, I don't know. And then my daughter is now having experiences. We don't have that house. We don't, that was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the house that me and my husband and my kids live in now, my daughter was in her room taking a nap, and I don't go in there. She's, in college, so she was taking a nap. She came down and she said, did you come in my room and sit on my bed? And I said, no, I don't, and she goes, yeah, I know you don't come in my room without knocking. And she said, I felt someone, like a female type person, sit on my bed and then lay down next to me. So that was a little, disturbing for her. So, and then that happened. Yeah, just a lot. I'm thinking, I don't know if anybody knows, but I'm thinking, is this maybe like, is it passed down?
Yeah.
These.
Well, some of my guests do talk about that abilities like this are generational or within the family, and it sounds like it could be the women in your family have this ability.
Yeah, I think something also is going on in my mom's house. I know this might sound a little crazy, but almost that she might have like a portal in her house by her fireplace and by the mirror. I know that sounds strange, but she came down this happened twice to her. She came down her stairs and she was getting ready to go to work. And she came down and she saw this little girl, blonde little girl, by her kitchen with ponytails. And she was so descriptive about her. She was just standing there staring at her, this cute little girl just standing and staring at her. And then another instance is that she was there with my brother, and he heard a whistle, and he goes, "Oh, did you whistle?" And she goes, "No." And so it whistled again, and they both looked, and it was coming from the fireplace area. And so they whistled, my mom whistled back at it, and it whistled back.
Oh, that's cool.
It's yeah, so yeah, it's just, but I thought I'd call in from that Jason, and because about last night, it was really strange. So, but again, I always have so many stories, so
Well,
I actually wrote them down this time, so I was
great.
able to tell a couple.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing. I've got to run. I've got some people waiting on me, but thanks for coming and sharing again. I appreciate you, and don't be a stranger. Come and share with us some more.
Thank you again. Have a good evening.
All right, you too.
Bye, Jeff.
Bye-bye. Cheers. All right. Next up is G7 Think. So we'll get G7 in. And while I was just remembering, if you look underneath in the description, you'll also see my Facebook page. You can get a link to that. And there's also me on Facebook. You're welcome to friend me. I'm accepting friends till I have 5,000 people. And one last thing is, while we're waiting for her, is that on my Facebook page, I put a video to an alien in somebody's room caught on their security camera. Looks pretty interesting. So I'd like to get your thoughts on that and see what you guys think. If you want to watch that video and then maybe comment back here or whatever after we're done. Again, you go to the JeffMara Facebook page and then you'll see a link to that.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Welcome back.
Hello, Jeffrey. It's me, Kelly from Bakersfield.
Yeah, how are you? How's it going?
I am good, and guess what? I'm here with my twin sister. Karen, can you please say hi to my audience?
Hello. All right, cool.
So I was gonna tell you about the story that happened to me when one day I'm a highly intuitive.
One second before you start. Does your twin sister have abilities like you?
Yes, but not as frequent or not. It kind of stems off of me. Like when it happens to me, it starts happening to her.
Have you ever had it
around me?
Have you ever had an experience where you both experienced it?
Yes.
Like what?
Identical time.
Like what?
Okay, so one day my twin sister had a dream, and in her dream, she was in a dirt road and there was a white house to the left. And when she went into that house, she saw people in there, but she was scared because there was no light in there. And she told me she could tell how these people died. And basically her goal was to pray for each and every one of those souls. But she knew out of the 11 people there, only 9 were going to make it to heaven. And the other 3 were going to stay in what they call the void, which is the hellish part, until their mentality is going to get to where they learn that they have to call upon God or Jesus. And mine's was quite different. My daughter, she was a year old at the time, and she was in a playpen. My room is the double doors. I don't know if you could see it, but I was in there with my daughter, and I heard a knock like at 3:17 in the morning, and they were saying, Kelly, Kelly. And I kept hearing these voices getting louder and louder. And I thought, oh, somebody's messing with me. It may be my ex. It may be my daughter's father that I had a restraining order against many, many years ago. And I thought, no, it can't be him. So I looked, it wasn't him. And I heard the knock coming through another door. And I was like, what is that? So I turned off all the lights. And I waited 5 minutes. And when I opened the blinds, ooh, Lord, I was in shock. It was 9 souls. And they were illuminate. Sorry, my dog Fufi is barking at my mom. She came outside really quick to stare at us. She now knows that I'm on Zoom. So she's gonna go back. But it was 9 illuminate like souls. Like you could not see in-depth detail by the face. They all had the same aura. It was blue. They were all about 4.5 feet tall. And they told me, come. And I was like, hell no. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And I ran. I ran as fast as I can. Excuse me. And I went to go get my daughter. And I got so scared. I was like, what are we going to do? So I ran to the living room and I fell into deep sleep. And in that sleep is when the guy that they portrayed, Jesus Christ, in the Bible, he came to me and he says, can I use you? I'm going to use you to guide you to go into some home to pull out this people. We're going to turn on a light. And I told you about the second time I was on the video, I turned the light on, a candle on, and they were able to leave, but I couldn't go into the light because then I would leave this earthly world. And they were going into the spiritual realm with Jesus, but 3 of them didn't make it. And I was able to see how in deathly they died, how one of them was huffing in a brown paper bag. I don't know what kind of opioid or spray paint or whatever it was. I'm not into drugs. I never knew drugs, so I don't know anything about that. He was huffing. He was living in New York, an Asian guy. I saw how a Caucasian guy was working in the oil fields and how his leg severed and he fell down like 42 feet or something. And his leg went with the one way, the other. And he had a spleen rupture and how he died. I saw how a Latina woman, I would say it was Argentina where she lived, where she drowned her baby and drowned herself because of the violent relationship she was in. She was physically and sexually abused and verbally abused daily, and very poor. And she didn't want the violence to start with her daughter. And I got to see all those souls, the way they passed in this earthly world before they transitioned to the spiritual realm. My twin sister got to see it in her dream, but I got to see it not only in my dream, but I got to see those souls knock on my door and ask me for help. So that was kind of like interesting, you know. But the one I wanted to talk to you about tonight was, you know, I'm not rude. My twin sister, she lives 45 minutes east of me where I live, and she lives by Hart Park by the Bakersfield Community College. And it was approximately 6 years ago. I was attending the college, so I was finishing up some like nursing classes, medical terminology classes, because I wanted to get into the nursing program. I was shifting my major over from child development, being a teacher. I've been a preschool teacher many years, to go into X-ray tech. So I go to her home, and I'm not rude like this, but I felt like I was going to fall into deep sleep. And I said, "Excuse me, Karen, is there any way you could put a sheet on your couch? Because I'm kind of delicate and I'm cleanliness is next to godliness type." And I said, "I'm going to go to sleep." And she's like, "What?" And 2 seconds later, I fell into deep sleep. But I felt a hand touch me, and I smelt kind of like if you go to a funeral or like a crematory, you could smell a sort of smell. I don't know how to explain it, but a hand touched me and told me, "Do not look at me because you're going to be scared." But what's the first thing I do is I look, and I saw this being, this person, this woman, and she told me, and I was looking at her like, "Who are you? Like, what are you?" And she was, "Never mind me." And she kept snapping, and she was being authoritative, yet she was being humble at the same time. And she goes, "Pick up that Bible that's on your sister's mantle." And I said, "For what?" And then she goes, "Pick it up." And I said, "Why?" "You're going to pray the demons away from her home." And I go, "There's demons in here?" And when I walked towards it, I felt like very light, like if I could float or I could move places. And when I turned around, they said, "Don't turn around." But that's the first thing I did. I saw my body on her couch, and I was terrified. So I was like, "Oh no, I'm dead." That's what I said out loud. "Oh no, I'm dead," or "I'm going to be dead," or "I didn't want to die. I'm too young. You know, I'm not even 40 yet. What's going on?" She goes, "You're not dead." And she goes, "And I protect your sister's home. I'm ordered to protect your sister's home." And I go, "You look like my mom." But the weird thing is there was these other beings that I was attracted to. They looked kind of like ET, but pale white skin, but with big blue eyes. Now these beings, I was staring at them like, "What are you?" I was kind of scared, jolted, like wherever I would go, they would go. They would not get away from me. So they blocked me basically, like wherever my soul was going, they went. And I asked, "What are you? What are you doing? Like, are you going to probe me? Are you going to abduct me, take me to a ship or something?" They were laughing at me, smiling. And they were like, "No, we're protectors. We're protectors of you. If we leave you, then the demons have the ability to take you away," or, you know. And I was like, I thought angels came in forms of like wings, and they were like 10 to 20 feet tall. They're like, those are different type of angels. And I said, "Okay, so what are you guys?" And they're like, "We're the angels to protect here in this earth. And we protect you during spiritual cleansing and spiritual awakening." And I was like, "Okay, whatever that means." And they said, "Never mind, just pick up the Bible." So as I was picking up the Bible, I was praying and blessing her home. Okay. And I saw these entities that looked like they were like aliens, if you want it, kind of like if they look like centipede aliens or reptilian aliens, like that, but with some black skin tight latex, like some leather, like some good leather with like scales like on their skin, protecting them with some red oculars as eyes. And I looked and I said, "Oh, those are protections to their eyes. But they were like yelling at me and saying horrific things to me. And they kept saying, you need to learn how to block them out and just bring in Jesus Christ. Pray to Jesus Christ the way you know how to pray to Jesus Christ. You got to rebuke and renounce them in the name of Jesus. The blood of Jesus has power. They kept telling me that, but you're the only one authority. If you can't do it, we can't help you. Karen, can you get the light, please, over there? And I was like, what? And so I had to walk through my twin sister's house, praying and blessing, with authority. I had to command them to leave. At first, they were throwing things at me, like they would grab stuff from my sister's hallway closet and throw things at me. But I had to learn how to take authority and initiative and just start praying as much as I could, because I'm not the best prayer warrior. Now I can be. But my twin sister says she saw me doing something different. What she saw, Karen, can you come here, please? Oh, she doesn't want to talk about it. She got the heebie-jeebies.
Wow.
She told me that what she saw was that my eyes rolled in the back of my eyes rolled in the back of my head, and that I was shaking and I was speaking in multiple languages, kind of like if I was possessed. So that startled her so bad, it jolted her. She didn't know if I was like, having a seizure, a grand mal seizure. And what she says is that I was speaking in tongues, as she would call it, but said it was so fluently. It was like you would go from Tagalog to Chinese to English to Spanish to Latin to Hebrew. And she was like, you were jumping, like, you were saying in these forms. And she says that she was so terrified, but then she understood because my voice told her, follow me, follow your sister. And what was it, Karen? Can you come here, please, to tell him so you could tell your version? And she says that I was telling her in a directive voice, like to follow her, but it wasn't my voice. It was a male voice coming out of my body and to pray. So she followed me, but she was like hesitant. But what I saw was my sister was following me. She was very scared. Like I could feel her energy. I could see her soul energy, and I could see an aura around her. And I would look, but the lady that was protecting my sister told me, I am your aunt. I'm your great aunt. I'm your sister's aunt. I'm your mom's aunt. I was really close to your aunt because I said, oh, you look like her, but you're just a prettier version, I guess. And I told my mom that, and my mom said, yes, I was close to my aunt Alicia, and she died young, but you never met her. I was pregnant and she was long gone, like 10, 12 years. So I don't know how this could happen, but what was it, Karen, that you saw? Oh yeah. What I saw was her eyes rolled in the back of her head and she was speaking in tongues, and she said, follow me, but it wasn't her voice. And she was going to each of my rooms with a Bible and like kind of like doing a cross sign and saying stuff in each of the rooms. And then I followed her all the way into the backyard. It was bizarre.
What did you think what was going on with her? What was your opinion of what was happening?
To be honest with you, at that point, I don't know. At first I was like, is she having a seizure or what is going on? Do I need to call the ambulance? But then I kind of felt a peace and a calm, and I kind of knew, because prior to her coming, I didn't tell nobody, but you would hear like knocks at 3 a.m., like 3 knocks at my windows, banging. I would hear like voices. I would see shadows in my hallways, and then I would turn the light and there was no one there. And my husband was at work all the time and my son was at school. So it's just a family of 3. At that time, we didn't have no dogs. So I knew something bizarre was happening at home. I would say more demonic, and I would pray about it, but I wasn't as religious as I am now back then when it happened. And that's when she came over one time after school, and right away she sat on my sofa, and then I knew she was blessing my house. So I felt relieved. I felt like, and it felt lighter. There was always such a heavy presence at home. And then after she did that, I felt like a weight is lifted off of my shoulders. Here, give me this. Oh, and sorry to cut you off and take it from you.
Well,
But,
let me ask her one last question. Is the house cleared out now, or you're not having any more, demons or anything there? It's totally clear.
It is cleared out. I'm not having anything, but what I saw after when we went to the backyard was so weird. I I don't know if I should say this or not. I'm gonna sound crazy and it's okay. I don't care if people believe me
Hey,
or
nobody
not.
judges. They're all
But
spiritual here.
I just want to let you know that what I saw was startling. Have you ever seen the movie from Hulu that just came out? It's called Prey, Prey.
I have not.
Or have you seen Alien versus Predator?
I
Do
have
you know
not, unfortunately.
well, there's a predator looking thing where he can
Cloak.
I guess you would call it shapeshift
Mhm.
from being clear where you can't see him, you can walk past him, he's invisible, and then it shows his body image figure. Well, what I witnessed is when I followed her all the way to the backyard, and then she came to that, I would call it a predator looking spiritual thing. It jumped from my house to my neighbor's house. It like jumped up and I looked at it and it did a weird screech. And I knew that was a demonic presence. I knew it was a demon. And that's when it really scared me. And then my sister came too. And she's like, what am I doing in your backyard? And I grabbed her. She goes, I feel weak. And we went inside and I gave her a bottle of water. That was bizarre.
Wow.
Oh, but before I saw that demon in her backyard, it lifted up a pallet and she saw it lift up invisibly and thrown at me, but that thing was throwing it at me. It was gnarly. But those angelic beings, which to me was scary, looked like ET to me, those angelic ET looking beings. They told me that demons come in different forms and stuff, and they can cloak. And they go based on your fear. So if she lived in fear, my twin sister lived in fear at that time, she said she didn't. That's when demons can take over. If you don't have any fear whatsoever, they can't. And I never lived in fear. And I believe in anything and everything. And I saw it was more than one demon. I had to like come out of their home. And I had asked, why? Oops, you gotta go get it. We have spectator lights, sorry, and they only turn on like when you're moving. Yeah. And so when I asked this like person that said she was my great aunt, my deceased great aunt that I've never met before that looked just like my mom. She told me demons come in different forms and they come based on what people are feared of. And it comes based on if they feed it, it comes. But my twin sister said she was never feeding it. But they also told me that her mother-in-law and her sister-in-law was going to witchcraft people to do hexes and curses against their own son and my twin sister. At first, it was hard for them to believe me. It was really hard for both of them to believe me when I was saying these things, because I've always been highly intuitive and I would always see people come to me like after they passed, or if they would come to me and they would let me know they were okay. Only twice I had people that were deceased that left that I knew weren't going to a good place. They were going to that, what we call a hellish place, a torment. But people think it's for eternity, for lifetimes and lifetimes. Well, yeah, the way they told me was 1,000 years on earth is as of a day in heaven. So for them, it is eternity, but they can get out of it depending on their family members. That's why when people are deceased, I don't like to talk anything negative, regardless if they were negative people here. I would just bless them and give them light. Like I have a father my late father, I don't let my brothers and sisters say anything negative. If they bring something negative upon him, I just bless him and bless him, because those spiritual beings, they're around us all the time. And the way they told me is that they're always with us no matter what. And I never met my mom's aunt. Plus, I didn't speak Spanish till I was about 15, 16 years old, but I speak Mexico Spanish. I don't speak Castellano, Spaniard Spanish, because my mom's Spaniard, but my father's German and Irish. And so that was something interesting, supernatural, yet it was a dream that kind of correlated with me, my sister, but with me it was more in depth. And I got to see the souls, and they thanked me afterwards too. My daughter woke up at the nighttime and she said, Mom, the people are here. The people are here. And I thought, oh my God, what people? It's like 2 a.m. And she's like, Mom, the people are here all happy, jumping on our playpen. And of course, my heart's racing a mile a minute. I don't know whether to vomit, to throw up, to poop, all that in one. And I could hear faint knocks. And when I went to sleep, they had came to thank me and I got thanked very much. So that was quite interesting and bizarre, but it's happened many times. And I have like I don't know what it is, but I don't predict these things. I don't do anything like that. I go to church occasionally, you know, I'm not like a Bible thumper or anything. I do believe in the Bible, but I believe that there's truth in anything and everything. And my friend never revealed to me one time that she had 4 kids. She only told me she had 3, but a being came up to me and revealed that she had 4 kids and she was going to be a great grandmother. And when I told her and showed her how in depthly, she was in shock. She had asked me, how did I know this? Like, what is it? And I said, an angel just walks up to me, and usually the angels that walk up to me, they come in human forms and they're tall, but they come in like males or females, but yet they're both masculine and feminine at the same time. So if I say they're feminine and they're a female, they're a female. If I say they're male, but they can be both because they have long hair and they have such a beautiful structure, like a lunar structure to their face and their eyes. It just depends. But I've seen good and bad. So I've even seen bad angels, like black angels, like I would call them angels of the bad one down there. And those aren't fun. Those are always in black, manifested in black, like really charred black, and they're scary. Like, and I always have to rebuke and renounce them in the name of Jesus or the blood of Jesus, because they told me everybody knows the name of God. Even Satan knows the name of God. But if you call upon the name of Jesus, like it'll flee, you know? And of course, if we spoke Aramaic, we would say the right terminology to the name, but Jesus, Yeshua, HaMashiach, whatever the way people call it, Jesus Christ, you know, if you call upon him, everything flees and leaves.
Well, thank you so much for bringing your sister on today and having you both
See,
on. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you. I didn't tell her I was coming on, and she was in the backyard wetting the grass because she came to visit my mom. I live with my mom and my daughter, and she brought her son to hang out with my daughter. But I couldn't tell her because if I would have, she would have left and fled because she doesn't like this stuff. She doesn't like paranormal, supernatural, and I'm okay. I'm okay with listening. I don't have fear.
Right. Well, thanks again for coming and sharing, and don't be a stranger. Come back again and share with us.
Thank you, Jeffrey. May you have a blessed one.
Oh, you too.
Thank you for letting me share. God bless you.
All right. God bless you. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.
All right. So we got Jennifer in line next. All right. So that was really cool that we had a confirmation with her twin sister. And I was saying earlier that, well, I was going to say, Jennifer, how are you?
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Great. How's it going?
I'm good, thank you. Just done harvesting at the farm.
All right. Harvesting at the farm. What are the crops that you're harvesting this time of year?
We do canola and barley.
Interesting. Canola.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Awesome. So have you had any new experiences lately to share with us?
Yes, I have a latest one, but not very latest though, because I wanted to join your live, but before, but I was so busy, and I said maybe when the time gives, or and I will going to join you. So I had a time, and then I get to join you tonight.
Right, and I want to let everybody know that I did a full podcast with Jennifer before about her NDE. And from time to time, she pops in and she tells us about other experiences. I don't remember what number it is. Do you?
Yeah, 202.
202. So that's the one if you want to check it out. All right. So tell us about what happened to you.
This is the latest one. I had a conversation with my son. He's 17 years old, and 17 years old boys are kind of naughty now because they're into experimenting of some kind, whatever. And then I found out one, and then I went into his bedroom, and then I was trying to make a conversation with him, and then he was laying down in bed, and then I told him, I need to talk to you. You did something wrong. And then I was, deliberately speaking to him, and you did this is wrong, it's blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly I don't know if myself, my physical self, went into a meditation state wherein you are focused into not focused, but you are into, I cannot explain, but then you are into something without noticing around you anymore. Like I don't know how to explain it, but so when I was talking to him about this, and I was so serious, so focused on my goal, letting him understand what his mistake was, I saw he was laying down, and I saw his body. There's like a 4 inches outside from his body, a color yellow that pops out. And then I was still, I wasn't telling him, oh, I see something on you, but I saw it in my eyes, and then I just said, oh, what is going on? I was talking, but in my head, it was talking also. What am I looking at? What am I seeing right now? I thought it was just from the light. And then I tried to brush my eyes and, go into another direction, so I could see if it's just my eyes or it's just the light. But even if I change my direction or my position, I mean, it's still the same. I could still see something color that pops out from him above his head, like 4 inches above his head, and side of his face and side of his arms and his legs and in his whole body. I was seeing yellow coming out from his body, like as thick as like that, very bright yellow. And then after that, I said, what the heck did I saw? This is my first time to experience this. I haven't experienced this before. My other experiences, my spiritual experiences or paranormal experiences, was mostly in my dream, where I wake up inside my dream and I notice that I am waking up inside my dream. And then I said, wait a minute, this is my very first time to experience this. This is awesome. And then I said, later on, after I scolded my son, after I talked to him, I'm going to write this down because this is my first time. And so I came out from his bedroom, and then I wrote it in my notebook collection of memo or for whatever I experienced, weird or paranormal things, right? So I wrote it down. And then another thing happened to him after that a few months ago, or 2 months, I think. And then he made a mistake again. And then it was so bad that I told him, we really, really need to talk to you, and we have to sit down. And so when he came from school, I told him, me and my husband said, oh, you have made a mistake, a very, very bad mistake. And then your mom needs to talk to you. So I told him, you have to sit down with me. And then so we were sitting down. He was around 7 feet away from me. I was in this couch, and then he was in the other side of the couch. So we were facing each other. And then when I was talking to him about his mistake again, after, because it was quite long conversation, after say 30 minutes, I saw another thing happen to him. It wasn't anymore a light or a color that popped out in him. It was how to say this, another person that came out from him. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a soul, but it's so, I can see already the face. He was sitting down against me, I mean in front of me, and then I saw another entity that just popped out from him, and it was sitting beside him, and I was looking at it. Maybe I'm in my head and my brain, I was saying that, is this my eyes? Am I being cross-eyed now for looking at him for so long? So I waited for a little bit and scratching my eyes and trying to focus that entity beside him. And then it wasn't moving. And it was looking at me too. And he was the same height, the same age with my son, but the physical appearance was different. He was because my son is Asian, and then that soul that came out from him on his side looks like Bhutanese or Chinese or Mongolian or something like that. I was looking at him for quite some time, and then while I was talking with my son, I was looking my other eye was looking at him, focusing to that person beside him. And then I said, if this one doesn't come out, I mean, doesn't disappear, this is something weird. So I keep on looking at him, and then he sometimes kind of like pixelized sometimes when I'm out of focus looking at him. He sometimes pixelized, looks like liquefied form of a person. But when I try to lower myself, like I don't know how to say lower, but not I should say calm myself, not very agitated about what I'm seeing, and not afraid of it, he comes out again. He pops out again like a real form just beside him. And he was kind of like a little bit similar with my son, but but the difference is the face was kind of like chubby and very round, and he has a pale skin. And then while I was talking to my son, in my head I was praying for that soul beside him. I was praying that I was rebuking, like, in the name of Jesus, I send you my prayers. God, please help you, and your angel or your guide will help you and send you to the right place where you are, in the name of Jesus Christ, like that. And I was saying our Father in my head for him while I was talking with my son. And then he was gone. He just vanished. And then I wrote it down again to my memo that I experienced this one, because those are just my, not often I could see them, like they just pop out like that. I was a little bit shocked because I haven't seen a real ghost, like popping out. It was just yeah, that was my experience. I'll give one more experience in the next live.
Well, thank you for sharing those. The first one sounds like to me that you saw your son's aura.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
people talk about seeing auras, and sometimes people's auras are certain colors, and probably maybe someone else will say something in the chat, but that's kind of like what I've never, personally seen someone aura, but that's what it sounds like. You saw like
okay.
his body in a color of light around his body. The second one, I don't know. I mean, maybe he had an entity attaching himself to him, or
Yeah.
another being. I'm curious if, you were talking to your son about things that he had been doing wrong. I wonder, after this entity left, did your son stop doing things wrong?
Yes. Yes.
So, maybe this entity was affecting your son. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
That's pretty interesting, though.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on and sharing that.
Oh, thank you very much, Jeff.
See, I was looking in the chat to see if anybody said anything. Someone said, someone else said, and Amanda says, sounds like an aura. Yes. And she thinks the other person was a guide.
Oh.
I don't know. And Francis says, violet light is a good presence. So, interesting what they're saying. When I was a kid, I saw a mirror, nothing else. Someone else saying, Tanya said about maybe she was talking about some attachment to your son. But it sounds like that what you did worked and the spirit left. So that's great. So
prayers is really good.
Yeah.
Prayers really works. Yeah, I will tell you more.
I wonder if you
next time.
I wonder if you have the ability now to see these beings because of your NDE.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, probably. It opened up, whatever it is hidden on me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for coming and sharing. Come back again and share more. Don't be a stranger.
Sure.
It's probably been about a month or two since we've seen you, so time flies. But yeah, don't be a stranger, and have a great rest of your weekend.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, wow. We did not do it. My wife just informed me. Okay, for next time, we have 282 people here. And so I have something in my hand for you guys to remote view. For those of you that like to remote view, I have something in my hand here if that's helping you connect with this for next week. I'm going to keep it on my desk all week. Julie, no, they have not have all NDEs. But I have this on my desk. It's a thing to remote view. So if you want to try remote viewing, it'll be here all week, and I'm putting it. It's there for me and for you. So I was saying again, that yeah, I was saying that if you go to the JeffMara podcast Facebook page, I put news articles in case it was a slow night, but today it was very busy. We're way over time, 45 minutes, 46 minutes. But there's a video of a guy supposedly from the security camera, and you're seeing what looks to like a small gray alien. So maybe if you want to take a look at that and come back and comment, that would be interesting. I'd like to be curious to see what your comments are on that, or tell me whenever, some other way. You're welcome to friend me on Facebook. And the last thing down there is I have a channel that's called NDE Clips, actually JeffMara NDE Clips. So if you're the type of person that doesn't like to watch an hour-long video, you can they're just clips of the videos of just the guests telling their NDE. And one last thing is, before I go, I have an NDE. I just saw that. Yeah. Innocent energy. I've been here for almost 3 hours. Where have you been? That's okay. You can watch it. We can watch the replay. And at least you made it here at the end. Yeah. So what was I going to say? I just forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I have a new NDE for you tomorrow. And I have another NDE for you for Monday. And then tomorrow? No, then I'm going to be recording a podcast Monday morning with 2 gentlemen about an alien abduction case. So those are going to be kind of like the next 3 videos. Anyways, thank you guys so much for coming and being with us this evening. I really appreciate you guys, watching our videos and hanging out with us. I wish you a great rest of your weekend. We love you guys. God bless you. And